All right, Aaron's with us, and we're going to start off with what, Brandon?
Amazing Spider-Man #9, written by Nick Spencer, art by Herberto Ramos, Michelle Brandini, Victor Alabanza, Edgar Delgado, Eric Archienga, and VC's Joe Carmanga. Nick Spencer takes a lesson from Mr. Bendis and fills this book with dialogue on any open page space he can find. Black Cat and Spider-Man's past is recapped, the hot topic of the moment, PTSD, is addressed, and more Thieves Guild backstory is all told here. By the end, I felt like I read an oversized book that went nowhere fun. Get to the fireworks factory already, Nick Spencer. On board.
Yeah, I'll give you one thing. I mean, I've read some over-the-top Bendis dialogue. There's a lot of dialogue here. At points, I was enjoying it a little more than I think you were, Brandon. And it's more of, and Aaron even said that it is Nick Spencer's version of Sanctuary from Heroes in Crisis. Now, the thing that I like about this Sanctuary is nobody dies. And also, it seems to be set up for something good, and it seems like it may even play off for a little bit of fun and some smiles and things like that, since it's Jarvis that seems to be the head of it. And it's PTSD, but it's also kind of the support group for people who have this weird life of not being superheroes, but having superheroes. This would be like a support group for wives of the military, and not even wives, but partners, family members of that.
Yeah, coping
so that
with them being
have to cope with them being off. And they even say it's almost like you hear a lot of times where, and I always see it in movies or TV shows where the police officer, the cop's going off and says to the wife, you don't know what it's like. I'm on the thin blue line, baby. And then she says to him, like, you don't know what it's like to have to sit here and not know what the heck's going on with you. Yeah, I'm just here and I got to worry about you. So I actually really like that. It's a weird concept just to throw in here, mainly in my mind, because it didn't really seem like Mary Jane needed it that much. That's the biggest problem I have with it.
It feels a little forced in because of who she encounters as her cliffhanger from last issue.
And that's what
feels a little forced in, but her pulling back also kind of makes it feel less forced.
Yeah, it's just a weird deal of the idea if you would sit there and think about like all the, I'm not just talking Marvel, but of all the, characters all around or whatever, and say, who would need this support group? Well, first off, Willie Lumpkin's there. He even says like, I just delivered their mail, but he's there because the problem is he always ends up in the line of fire a lot of times. Hey, he just got shrapnel to the heart in that Black Panther Deadpool issue a couple weeks. So he's, but I just don't think of Mary Jane as that. Mary Jane even, has broken up with Pete and stuff like that. And it's just weird to kind of go, but I like the concept, I think. But the problem is basically you have two things going on in this issue. You have Black Cat and Spider-Man around to go to the Thieves Guild. And then you have this kind of Sanctuary type deal going on. And I don't know if I like either of them full out. You know what I mean? Like each of them are kind of going, and it's just, I don't know.
I just didn't have a whole lot of fun with like exploring this Thieves Guild more. I feel like I got the gist of it last issue, and just repeating what it's all about again here is just, it feels like a waste of page space. I mean, they do tie it into, Black Cat's being a young kid.
Yeah, you see that and how she became part of that.
I mean, it doesn't do a whole lot for me, and I've been reading Spider-Man for a long time.
And that might be part of the problem, actually.
Yeah,
the backstory.
This is a lot of backstory for people that haven't been reading it.
Yeah, that's the
new
thing,
reader friendly.
I'm a new reader, and I see this, and yet I didn't know the story. But I wasn't really amazed by what the story was. I actually, if you would have really pinned me down, I may have come up with something similar. I mean, not exactly, but I would have been just like, I really don't care that much. She looks hot, and she's always with, she's kind of the back and forth with Pete and, Spider-Man and stuff like that. But The one thing I did like there was the tie-in that the Thieves Guild were involved in that heist. What is it? The Lufthansa heist, which was the one that was done in Goodfellas. So I was excited about that. That was the big Goodfellas heist when they ended up, stealing stuff from that airport stuff. But yeah, with it though, you don't. It's a quick issue. Even with it, there's a lot of reading, so that slows you down. But there's not a lot going on, but you do go.
No, that's kind of what I was, we're recapping just things we've already known or seen in Spider-Man's past. And then really the only new development is we find out Black Cat wants half the heroes things.
That's a big thing. Because she says, I know I'm still part of this Thieves Guild. I can take you to the safe houses, whatever. We can go get your guys' stuff. Pete does get his, he gets the web slingers back, but you see all the other things. But yeah, then Black Cat's like, I'm taking half of it. And you're like, what? Like he thought that she was there, for the goodness of her heart.
Good,
to do that. And she's
dummy Pete.
Yeah, dummy. But yeah, you go, and it's funny too, because this came up this week where I was asked, and it was kind of spelled out as well, that where DC takes 3 months to make an issue. It's usually a 3-month process. So whatever we read this week was probably finished 3 months ago. Marvel goes like 3 weeks. They're very quick. And I swear to God, when they go to that meeting, that's like the Sanctuary, those, flying little sentries or whatever, it really does seem like this is making fun of the Sanctuary. It really does. And with that, it could be. And
that one kid at the blurry face in the left corner is Genki.
Okay, yeah.
That's Genki, and the middle one's probably Pepper Potts.
Yeah, it was either Pepper Potts or
and there's Genki.
And the top left one I was thinking would be Foggy Nelson.
Yeah.
The middle top one the only one I could think of was like Donald Blake.
I don't know, Professor X. It looks like a bald-headed white guy with a purple tie.
It's Brian Michael Bendis. The thing about this, though, is funny, though, just with that one panel. Also, I would have laughed. Now, really, full out, if that was a 9-panel page with all the people, I would have said, hands down, they're making fun of them.
Would have got an extra point from me.
Yes. Now, the thing about it, though, is in a roundabout way, it does kind of point out that the Marvel universe has a lot more of these kind of normal people involved with the superheroes than DC, because really think about who would be here from the DC universe. If you did have the DC deal, obviously you would think that Alfred would be the one starting it.
Yeah.
But in my mind, you go right to heroes, not the people on the side. Because
Holly, would it be Holly?
There's not a lot of people on the side. It's always these vigilantes or heroes that Steve Trevor, maybe
barely even in the books anymore.
Yeah. So it's kind of a cool deal, but really that is, you have this set up too, where in my mind, I don't know why, but I think that this is going to lead to some troubles where almost identities get out or something, almost like the Sanctuary as well, because it just seems like, why would you have this here just out of nowhere and spelled out where Mary Jane's like, you can't do that. You didn't tell him about Peter. No. You don't tell anybody anything. It just seems weird. I
don't know. That girl's kind of straight up, though, because she's a cop.
Oh, I'm saying I don't think she's going to. I think that maybe somebody's going to try to infiltrate this and try to do something.
I don't think it ends well. Like, I don't think this is just.
It's just weird to just get thrown out. Yeah, it just is weird to throw it out.
I hope they keep it just kind of.
It would be funny on the side.
Straight up,
just go back to this where all of a sudden the next, we don't see it for a couple issues, and then all of a sudden Mary Jane goes and like they start talking, a lot of trash on all the people, and then it would be funny, because then you'd have, even with the blurry faces, where you'd have Foggy like talking about, the guy's blind and he doesn't even listen, like, and really they're coming to a bit of a disaster, and with Daredevil coming up anyway, so maybe he'll need that. But I do like the idea. But yeah, by the end, it's just basically, hey, I'm gonna keep half the stuff. Oh man, Black Cat, I can't believe you. You're gonna do that? Oh no. There's the Thieves Guild that found us, and then it ends, and it's very quick. The thing about this is, though, I'm not that irritated by it. It's not like it's the greatest issue, but I wasn't angry at the end. I was just it's kind of what it is. And,
I'm just still a little let down. He had me on board for a little bit after.
You were.
I forget
on board.
Issue that was that Boomerang stuff, and then like this Thieves Guild stuff has come along, and it's just kind of killed my momentum I had going for a little bit, and I still enjoy it enough. It's just not. Top of my read pile.
If I would say it reminds me, I actually like it a little better than the book, I'll say, but it kind of reminds me of Doctor Strange, where it's trying to figure out what it wants to do. It can't. And this book, though, has ADD. It's all over the place, and then we'll get back to this and that. But you know what? Sometimes that's a little better than having a lot of issues doing nothing.
Yeah,
I mean, it just kind of is all over the place. But I'd give it a 7, actually, overall. What would you give it, Aaron?
I'm sitting around a 7 too. I really like the art. I
like the art.
Alicia Bandini or something like that. That does the part where they're sitting at the coffee shop. Changes right there. That I like that art actually a lot more than Humberto Ramos or
Ramos. Yeah.
I like it.
I like his character interactions. It might be a little guilty of overwritten, but I'm just kind of rolling that off as New Year reader friendly.
No,
I had a decent time. The Thieves Guild, it might actually need more flushing out.
Yeah,
just to make it more interesting.
It seemed more of a goof the last issue. I mean, it wasn't a goof at first where you had the club thing. That seems to, but then all of a sudden they're stealing all the equipment and stuff, and it seemed to be played for laughs, and then it's not. I think that they do need a little more fleshing out and a little more kind of stick with one tone, if you ask me. But go on, Aaron. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I'm just gonna say 7. Yeah.
What about you,
it was an enjoyable issue.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I'm going 6.5. I got enough out of it where I had fun, and I do like the art in this book. It's always great, but I don't know. I'm just after the reveal with Kingpin, I thought that's what we were getting into. Yeah. I was sidetracked by Boomerang. I was okay with it because I enjoyed it, but now it's like getting too far removed from those big developments.
Yeah, I agree. And then when we get back to the
universe, Brandon.
And when we get back to it, almost seems like the book's been delayed because we go back to a weird, thing that we haven't dealt with.
And they love bringing up all this stuff from the Free Comic Book Day issue. Like, I don't know if they want to recap something, recap that, because that happened 6 months ago, not one issue ago. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Yeah. Well, we're going to go off to the next book, which has been delayed. And I'm wondering why. I can't figure it out. I really can't figure out why this book was delayed. It's definitely not the story, and it kind of upsets me. What is it, Brandon?
Yeah, we got Fantastic Four #3. Where's my blurb here? The first Dan Slott is the writer. Sarah Pacelli is on art. Nico Leon is the inker. Marte Gracia does colors, and VC's Joe Carmanga is on letters. The first 3-part arc comes to an end with the Fantastic Four back in tack, and I wish I could say the story was fantastic, but this was a very uneventful return. Between delays, pimping a wedding, and some awful art, this book just isn't for me right now, but I do hope the true Fantastic Four fans are happy with it. To me, Dan Slott is a one-book guy, and I think Iron Man is a big part of the reason this book doesn't feel as special as it should right now.
Yeah, the problem I have with this is usually, you have a 3-issue arc here, and you're going with it, and you're really depending this issue, especially on the villain. And this villain is not good.
Terrible.
And this villain is generic. The villain is defeated in a now again, you're going to defeat the villain by Reed kind of figuring out things. So that works that way.
Reed spells it out that she's generic.
And by the end, it's just like, really? Like, this was only and then by the end, why did you end up having that awesome cliffhanger where everybody joined in? And yes, I see the plan. But the plan, you could have made a different plan to make it more of a book where you have Spider-Man just to walk over. Hey there, buddy. With great power comes.
I honestly could not remember where all these other characters came from.
And it threw me off. Did it throw you off when Medusa had like a speaking role of this? I'm like, boy, like where, you shouldn't be here. That's it. It just kind of felt weird after the death of the Inhumans.
I just thought this whole thing was weird. How they're just standing around hugging each other while everyone else is fighting.
And that's the other thing. I know that's part of the plan, but it was just like, hey, you guys go over there and distract her a little while we hug it down. You know, we're going to hug it up over here. And then you guys destroy that, but you're really not going to. And then Hulk just shows up.
I would have forgave that little hug circle, but then they go run off to grab the kids too. And then it's like, so it's like 2 pages.
So why?
Just fighting in the background trying to destroy their ship.
It's almost
when Hulk was already inside.
And like, oh, don't tell anybody I did it.
It was just how could this be issue 3?
I don't know. And where
and it has a strike against it too, because Marvel 2-in-1 is the last issue I remember over issue 2 of this, and that one had a lot of feels for me in it. And
this just, and I don't know if
the art is off to me.
It's all. I think the whole thing is off. It's really weird, and they want to get Dan Slutt's trying to get a little of the feels going. But then also you have to have like the whole deal where it's like, I don't know, Dad, I don't know if I can do this. Yes, you can. And then the villain's like, you made worlds. We already had this. I mean, you even have some recap and stuff like that. And the villain is so, like you said, Reed even spells out. And really the way that they solve it is basically destroy everything but one escape pod, and then say to her at the end, well, time out. Like, I'm telling you, the worst part of this villain, who's talking a lot of trash throughout this, is that instead of the villain monologue, she's asleep at the wheel. What is she doing? What is she doing?
No, I don't know.
At one point, the Fantastic Four are hugging each other, and she's off doing something. And I really, and the worst part of this whole deal, by the end, you really, and this is me just being, cynical and kind of a jerk, I almost want one of the heroes to die so that they can throw shade at the Fantastic Four for going over and making this plan. Like, Miss Thang is dead. She's dead. You see her at the one.
Well, that was the other thing. They're throwing like just people that are the Fantastic Four from all different eras and continuities, and I don't have.
You have multiversal things going on, and really most of the time that spells some fun times, and really spells some fun times art wise. And that's off here too.
No, this art is not good. I've seen Sarah Pichelli do some great.
Yes, I have too. I like Sarah Pichelli.
Not good. I don't know what
it's not. And it's Nico Leon and Sarah Pichelli, and I don't really know Nico Leon that much, but I've seen Sarah Pichelli art, and I like it. So where's the delay? What caused it? Was it the art wasn't done? Because again, was it that they had to change things? Because if this is what it got changed to, I want to see what the original thing was. And really, all this is to just get the Fantastic Four together and get them back, and basically for Ben to say, hey, by the way, I'm getting married. That's basically what you get.
Really do the artists any favors by trying to put every single freaking person in here twice. Like you're reading an X-Men book, you got so many double characters.
But even so, like you have sometimes with these, like you will have a book with this, and like you said, there's tons of characters, whatever, but there'll be at least one page where you're like, okay, that's the 80% of the time they spend. It'll usually be the page with all the characters, and that kind of is at that beginning. At the beginning, they're all standing there with the family reunion deal on that. And boy, that looks crappy. It looks terrible. Look at Wolverine.
Nobody looks good. There's
Wolverine
not one character
so
that can be like, oh, that's
there.
what she's got a grasp on. There's nobody. Spider-Man looks bad. Everybody looks bad.
I'm telling you, Miss Thang in the back of looks like Jesus. It looks like a halo around her head. What is going on? And basically all of this then also where it drove me nuts is you have the villain like, you know what, Reed? I told you years ago that this would happen. He's like, you know what? I remember when I was trying to figure out the formula to prevent the end of the world, the end of the universe. And I thought, okay, this is kind of funny. And then it's like, it was insulting. You lose. I'm like, really? now, basically it's freaking Rocky 4 now. You lose. I'm like, oh, what's going on? But with that, you end up with them together and off they go. So we have them together now. And hopefully what we'll get now is, the start of what would really be the series start going. You have the kids, you've established that they have grown up a bit when you had oh man, you really grew and all that. So you see that, their interactions with the rest of the DCU or MCU. And I do kind of like that, if anything, of me just jumping in, where I do see that, say, Spider-Man has a bit of an interaction with the kids and stuff. And even that, though, they even have that big thing with Iceman and Johnny. And then you have the Mr. Bobby Drake, please explain, what does not canon mean? I'm like, oh, please, let's get out of this.
Awful jokes.
Yeah, let's get
top of it all.
Yeah.
This will make you laugh. This is a 10 out of 10 on the roundup here. If you're not on board with this Fantastic Four yet, it's time to reevaluate your relationship with comics as a whole, because
really? Thank you, buddy. I'm glad that guy's the gatekeeper of comic lovers.
We are the toxic fandom over here, apparently, because I did not like anything.
I'll explain this. I'll explain this to this podcast as well, like I do on the other. Toxic fandom does not mean you're not allowed to like something. Everybody's allowed to like and dislike anything they want. Toxic fandom is that guy telling me now that I should just give up comics. That's where I don't like it. It's me saying, hey, listen, if you like this Fantastic Four, you better go get your head checked, buddy. Like, that's toxic fandom, throwing shade and hating on somebody just because, whatever. Nonsense. There's no reason why, if I don't like this comic, that all of a sudden I should
just made my day.
How did Sue take what the hell's the kid's name? Her boy's name?
Powerhouse?
Yeah, Powerhouse.
Yeah. I don't know. It ends up making him kind of, incorporeal. When she grabs him.
He's not Kitty Pryde.
I know. And turns him invisible,
maybe
and nobody can touch.
Maybe that was more.
I thought when
someone's invisible does not mean you cannot feel them.
No, I'm with you there. I totally agree. Like, he disappears doesn't mean you don't have a hold of him.
Yeah, she's got him by his throat, and like, and she doesn't even disappear right away. She's like, "Oh, I'm gonna do a circle around you. I'm intimidating or something. I don't know," because she's coming right at her, and then all of a sudden she's at the opposite side of her, like she's swooped around, and then just grabbed the boy. And the villain gave her the idea to do that too.
Exactly. I don't know. Go ask Charlie. Ridgely. Dear Charlie, how dare you tell me that I should give him jerk?
Oh my God.
No, I'm gonna get toxic in a minute. I should reevaluate, please. Please. This issue is not good. It's not horrible. It's just there.
It's the definition of generic comic.
Yes, and it's just there as a placeholder to get us to where we want to get eventually, which the way I don't like the way this first 3 issues have been is when they do go, we end up on Earth next issue. We're coming to the wedding. We're doing all this. This will never be referenced again. This step of, oh man, remember when we were fighting that generic woman villain who couldn't do anything and then talked a lot? I can't believe
they allowed this one to steal the thunder of Marvel 2-in-1.
Yeah,
it literally stole the thunder of it.
And
dropped significantly.
Wouldn't you think that they would have been better served where you end 2-in-1 and then start the Fantastic Four by letting 2-in-1 maybe do the transition to instead of this? Instead of this 3, it's nonsense. This whole idea of, getting the team back together and the family and stuff, it really felt that all 3 of these generic. It did. It's
almost like Dan DiDio was making the calls on how they launched Fantastic Four.
This is not great. I don't know. And just the idea of the Fantastic Four being back and Dan Slott's on it and all these things is one of the big things that I was looking forward to. And this 3 issues. Now, I'm not telling you that I think it's going to stink going forward. I do think that it's going to kind of get its own identity and go forward. I also think that maybe Dan Slott was trying to ease off a little for starting it till 2-in-1 ended. Maybe. I don't know. This doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like it feels return.
It feels like Bendis' Man of Steel.
Yeah. It feels like something that's just not quite there. And what
done the same way,
Yeah, it's just weird. So with that, I'm telling you, I hate to give it less than a 6 because 6 is what I have a gut feeling about. I don't like the art that much, though. And that's usually what will keep me above. So I'm going to actually go 5.5. And that's, it's kind of a positive 5.5. I mean, it's positive in the way that I'm glad we're done these 3 issues. And now it's almost like this is the preseason. Now game 1 starts the next issue.
And they're going with a new artist too.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, next issue we have game 1, and it's a division game to start the season. You better come out fired up.
Hopefully you'll enjoy the other Fantastic Four he's creating.
Yeah,
because that's what's next issue.
Oh, great. Well, here we go. But yeah, this is a 5.5, and yeah, it's a 5.5. Like I would say that Brandon would say that the Buffalo Bills season so far has been a 5.5. Actually, I'd say. Do you think the Buffalo Bills right now a 3?
Yeah, they're lower than a 5 out of 10. I mean, geez. We've played 4 quarterbacks this year.
Eagles are a 4 out of 10 right now, too.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they're really hurting. But what would you give it, Brandon?
I'm gonna go just a flat 5 out of 10. I mean, I just didn't like the art.
Give up you don't love comics. You're out.
Yeah,
Charlie
I guess
says
not.
You're out.
Kick me out of the club.
How about you, Aaron? Are you out? Are you in with comics?
I'm at a 5.5 also.
Yeah, yep.
Honestly,
we're all out.
I mean, there is some very weird looking faces.
Yeah.
Straight lines that just shouldn't be like straight lines. It's just heavy ink. I don't know.
Yeah,
I hate to pick
I'm with you.
Too,
I know. Same
and
here.
the story it's
not
laid
good.
with a thud.
Here's how I judge the art. If my buddy, he can draw pretty well. If I could give him like some blank paper and say, draw me these characters and they look better than what was
then you have problems.
Something I paid for, I have an issue with it. So
yeah, I can't draw, and I don't know anybody who can draw. So I just go with, I look at it and then kind of go with the idea of, boy, this was delayed. It doesn't look like it. Yeah, there's a lot of weird looking characters, but we're going to move to the last book of the night, and obviously the biggest book of the week, something where, is the next phase in my mind of you had the Fantastic Four come back, and now this is the Uncanny X-Men coming back, and I'm not that. I wasn't blown away, but what do you think? What do you
talk about it?
Yeah,
Uncanny X-Men #1, written by Ed Brisson, Matthew Rosenberg, and Kelly Thompson, with a team full of artists, inkers, and colorists. I've said it once. I've said it 100 times. I'm a Wolverine fan, but I find way too many X-Men.
I knew it.
Being exactly the same for about 30 years now. When the Uncanny reboot was announced, I thought it was a chance to catch back up with the team I used to love. However, after reading this kickoff to a weekly series, I realize I'm just still a Wolverine fan. Let's discuss the latest Marvel cast.
Oh my! I have a. Do you like it, Aaron?
I liked this first.
That's the same with me. I actually thought that you would like it more than us. I actually had a lot of fun with the first deal. Yeah.
After I got done with this, I was like, man, I wish it was only that first chunk.
Now here's the deal,
which is a full issue.
Yes.
So I mean,
it's exactly. I was reading it, and this was the last book that I was reading to get ready. And now, obviously, we did a couple books before you came on because you were still reading these. I was struggling to get through this, and I know. Yeah, and first off, I get it digitally, and it is the director's edition that is basically 290 pages. So when I loaded it up, I almost had a heart attack. And I almost messaged the brand, and I said, "Yeah,
canceled."
No, I'll tell you what I was going to do. This is completely honest. I was going to suggest that we end up having our regular podcast, and then we get back together on Saturday and have a special only this issue podcast. It was 290 pages. Obviously it wasn't. But when I was reading it, this first part, I was really into. I was really having fun with it. I know that it is not exactly the most original X-Men story. No. I mean, you're going with some X-Men tropes that I even know. But with that, you have some new characters. Yeah. I like the interaction with the characters. I like the things. Then it ends, and we have, Bishop. And this is where I said to Brandon, I sent him a message, and he'll verify this. I said, I'm on the Bishop backup. I will be done in a minute. And then I'm like, oh, no. Should I tell him that I'm now on the Jean Grey backup? And now should I tell him that? I'm like, really? This is going on forever. It was taking me forever. And the idea of this first story where you have a senator and he's like, hey, everybody, where you know, we have this vaccine. Like I said, very tropey, very big X-Men thing. In the meantime, you do have the dark X-Men team kind of going off, the bad X-Men team going to take care of this, you know, chemical factory, and this new kind of fresh team of the Uncanny X-Men going to stop them. So you have that, which I like. Kitty Pryde kind of phases out and things like that.
Yeah,
but
that's
really,
the big mystery here.
The big thing of this is, though, is it also seemed to tie in kind of to the Multiple Men deal, and you have Matthew Rosenberg. So I was like, you know what? I didn't exactly love that Multiple Men book, but this going in here, I actually thought, you know what? I'm glad I read that, because now I know, like, just me, I'm like, I know Jimmy Madrox now. I see what's going on. Oh my God, this is cool. I was having a lot of fun. I really was. And if it ended, it's one of those where is it too much is just too much? Because if it ended at that first story, which is still, like Aaron said, it's a full story, even a little oversized. If it ended that, I'm telling you, I'd be 8.5.
Yep.
Easily. With the extra part, I'm down to a 7 by the time we get done.
Contradicting themselves at one point.
I didn't like that extra part. It just didn't seem to fit with the regular story. But I mean, there's other parts. Like, Aaron, tell us about the regular story. You know, give us a little more. I just kind of glossed over it.
Well, it opens up with Kitty Pryde having to send the New Mutants to an faraway land. I don't remember what land it was, but it's Dream Session style. Jean Grey seeing Madrox get killed, and then she wakes up in the middle of the kitchen, and she's like, "Where's Kitty Pryde?" Because Madrox was asking where Kitty Pryde was. So Kitty Pryde was on a journey to have the kids, you know, trial and error kind of match. We're taking you out on a working meeting, basically, and meeting up with Forearms. And Forearms, they're all making a joke of.
Where's triceps? I liked it.
I liked it, but it turns out it was more than just Forearms, and fight is on, basically.
Yeah, and with that, you do end up seeing the plane goes down because Kitty Pryde ends up phasing out, and you don't know where she went.
Yeah,
she
that's just the mystery built up on
I like the most out of everything they're giving us here. The villains were just kind of uninteresting to me that they went to fight. You know, it being an uncanny issue, I wanted a big kind of X-Men villain for them to take on. I was a little disappointed by that, but
no, you do get it by the end. I mean, there is a big cliffhanger, but the only thing that really threw me off of this whole first part, in my mind, I just didn't like the portrayal of Laura. I didn't. She came off more of almost Gabby as Laura, and
she did a little bit.
And not having Gabby with Laura now, I don't play that. If you have Laura, you have to have Gabby, and it just feels weird for her to be there. But she's too jokey to me. She hasn't been jokey like that, and it threw me off a bit. But
I do like the part with Laura where she takes everybody out with the fastball special.
Yeah, I'm talking more of when she has the orange slices on her things. It didn't seem.
There was another part too.
I was thinking, you put orange slices on your claws, you suck those back into your arms, that's gonna sting. I don't care if you're a mutant or not.
It will. That's like having ulcers in your mouth and eating lemons. Then I'll tell you,
I want to point you towards a little bit of unfortunate art. Go to page 14 where what's the chick that has the body armor? Her armor.
Armor. That's her name.
Yeah, Armor.
She's punching that beast, that Wolverine knockoff in the ground, and his arm is reaching up, and it looks like it's firmly planted on her boob.
Yes, you don't need that.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, you have the fastball special though, and then like Brandon said, the you do a wild side, which they even call them the night. Hey, you knock off Wolverine, come here, and they're not the greatest.
They're all fighting over this place that's developing a cure for.
Yeah, and it's one of those where they want to destroy it. It's like one of those weird things where you have the X-Men saying, yeah, it's like the movie, and they're like, hey, why are you protecting this and why did that? But they're both there to kind of stop it anyway. But they, the uncanny X-Men, they don't want people to die doing it. It's just a weird kind of combo. And then it goes off to the senator and he's talking, hey, we gotta, we have a cure, we can do this, everybody can get it. It's Senator Ashton Allen. You have a bunch of the X-Men in the crowd. You have this weird deal where it looks like Kitty Pryde is supposed to get up and kind of give a speech on their side of things. At one point, it seems like Bobby's going to get up and he's going to give his comedy routine, his stylings. I do like one thing because Jamie Madrox comes out of nowhere. And she's like, you know what? And he's terrible. So he's like, is this on? He's like, and stuff like that. I do like that Bobby's like, yeah, that Jamie Madrox cracks me up. I thought that was hilarious.
Everyone else hates him.
Oh my God, they hate his guts, and he's messing everything up here because in the meantime, he kind of is doing a delay because a bunch of him are showing up, and you get this whole idea of, Jamie's there to save the center, but the center is getting taken away and he's trying to do this and you don't know what's going on. My issue with it is it ends up, being a pretty big deal who has taken both, Kitty and now the center, but it's really jokey.
I don't think he's taken them. I think he's also taken.
You think he's taken? No, he is there. You're right. He is kind of put on that big X. So you could be right. Just and he says our captors. I actually just saw it. I'm like, holy crap! But it is Apocalypse. So somebody is gathering them. It is weird though. They have Kitty in this little chair. They have the center in a chair, and then they have Apocalypse on this big stone X. Deal. Now, another weird thing throughout this, at the very beginning, you had Beast and Storm in Africa, I believe, and they're like all of a sudden this.
I didn't.
There's a rain that doesn't seem natural, and it's kind of made a lake that is kind of being inhabited by fish and plants a little too quickly. Well, I guess that's a setup for later of whatever's going on.
Is the Earth turning into a mutant?
Yeah, maybe. The one thing that I thought was a little off as a new reader, basically new reader, and especially with the new team, and then when the Madrox is coming, everybody starts attacking people with the centers. I wish that they would have spelled out a little better, like the powers of each of the X-Men. Now, I do get the idea of a bunch of them, and I know a bunch of them, but I think that they could have been eased in a little better. But
especially the new guys, a lot of the new characters too. I mean, even for an issue that's labeled #1, like there's no name. Not really name tags, a lot of nothing anywhere.
Like the known X-Men are kind of just thrown out there for you to either know or not know. And I thought that with that, it seemed a little less user-friendly than I thought it would be. But luckily,
when they were in that news area.
Yes. Yeah. All of a sudden it's just attacks on, and you have things going on. And like, it's even like, I know, Angel. And but
I had some issues though there too. So
and that's what I'm saying. Some people don't know anything and just want to go. And it just and
the other person.
Yes. Is it like a North Star? Or,
North Star.
Yeah, but people wouldn't know this. And
even North Star in his outfit, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem. I think the biggest problem is a lot of them aren't in their outfits. So instead of you don't have the placards or anything going. And I mean, Angel is very recognizable.
Yeah, but when you put him next to Cannonball, he's not.
Yeah, and people
out of outfit.
And also people just joining in, they keep going, Warren. And you're like, if you don't know that, you're going to be left in the dust. And I think that some people's heads might be spinning a little after this big press conference goes bad, especially if you don't know Multiple Man, you are completely thrown off.
Didn't read that 6-issue mini. I mean,
and that's why I said really I'm so glad I did, even though I didn't.
And I didn't think they were tying that much. I mean, I had an idea because I saw a variant cover that had multiple men, but I was like, a variant cover could be just like, I wanted to draw this. Well,
there was an X-Men variant cover for Spider-Man this week. I mean,
So with that, it did throw me off, and then it kind of continues with these backups. And first off, the backups come. And I'm not really
that was brutal.
I'm not really that big on some of the art in these, and there's some of the art with them are artists I actually like. I didn't like it. But you have a Bishop story, a Jean Grey story, an Armor and a Knoll story, and then a epilogue. And the Bishop story, within a page and a half, I almost checked out. And I almost thought to myself, like, okay, this is just going to be nonsense at the end of these. Then all of a sudden,
that was Grey Gargoyle, not Beast.
Dark Beast.
Beast.
Well, Sugar Man looks like a monstrosity.
Yeah, like that's not any Sugar Man I've ever recognized.
He normally looks like a monstrosity, but this is even a bigger monstrosity than he normally looks like.
Yeah. He looks like I don't even know, like a garbage pail kid. He looks crazy.
But then Bishop, like, he dies. Sugar Man dies, but that's a robot, isn't it?
Yeah, he looks like a robot. Yeah, that's all set up
like,
to kind
sorry, Sugar Man. So he's apologizing to a robot.
Bishop's in the Matrix.
Yeah, and with it all, and even earlier, with all these, and I didn't get the connection of what the story was, because then you go to Jean Grey, she's there, she's waiting, there for Storm, and an old lady comes to talk, and then things get controlled.
This is before the events of the first part.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. So, and I just sat there. I'm like, I am losing.
I liked this Jean Grey and the little.
I like the art of Jean Grey.
Yeah, I like the conversation between her and the old lady a little bit. I mean,
it was way over the top, though.
It was way over the top, but then just to make the moment with Storm and her that much more sentimental.
Yeah, and Storm comes in, and then all of a sudden everybody has powers. They're being controlled, and, things go wacky. And then you have this other, but, I'm telling you, these backups were just, I was struggling to get through random. Them. I really was, yeah.
Like, I don't understand how any of this connects to what I read before it.
No, that was my biggest problem, because then you go to an Armor and a Knoll story, and basically that story, to me, and it continues, obviously. This continues, but it's more of also.
This story was before or after either.
Yeah. And this story definitely is one of those where you want to see it's almost like the view of the new recruits. Like, oh man, they have us in the sewers. We're doing this and that. And I just don't know why.
And then the last part where Bishop appears contradicts the first story he was in, with his thing going off constantly.
Yeah, and basically
in these last.
Yeah. I'm telling you, these backups, they really brought my score down a bit. Yeah. And in my mind, how we continue, we'll see.
Is that Mystique at the end?
It does look like it would be Mystique, right? And that's what I thought.
I don't know who else it could be.
And is that just to set that up? Because it's just a weird deal. And with that, in my mind, I just thought by the end is like, all right, you just wanted extra pages so you could charge more. I
don't think it's Mystique.
And then we'll see. It's just weird how all of a sudden she is, somebody, whoever it is the form of that old lady, and then kind of changes back to what appears to be a guy to walk away.
Yeah, the shoulders look too broad. Like, it's not a slim enough figure for Mystique.
Definitely a dude.
Unless the dude is.
Well, Mystique could be anybody.
That's what I'm saying. It's a red herring that we'll see the dude show up the next time, and then
that old lady had broad shoulders too.
Was in X-Men Black.
Yeah.
Issue,
and it's just these backups I just did not like. It brought my score down to a 7 overall.
I mean, the people that were going after that old lady said you were with him.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming it's a him.
Unless the him is not who we're seeing, and it's
I stopped thinking so much into these backups when I just realized that they were taking place either before what I read previously, or like it's either setting up what I've read previously, or I just don't understand the purpose of their placement in the issue.
Yeah, it was kind of weird that they did that. It was probably because the stories just weren't as strong as the first one, so they were like, "Well, let's go with the strong one first." This one on the back, and
they don't want people closing the book before they
exactly.
Yeah.
I was
that part kind of intrigued me though, of the him, who this him is, and who walking off. So, and the added part of Apocalypse on the first story was really cool because of what's been going on in X-Men Black. And in Brandon, you mentioned that it is the Earth becoming a mutant now, and that's kind of what happened in X-Men Black backup issues with Apocalypse.
No, so
because Apocalypse like degenerated down, and then had to transfer into another body, and then like come back. The planet was part of him. It seemed like. So I don't know. Maybe the Earth is a part mutant now.
Maybe.
Yeah, if that would be makes sense at all. I would be okay with that. This book just feels like they took a bunch of generic random X-Men stories. Like it feels a lot like X-Men 1 to me, and I like the art, but I didn't get much out of it besides the cliffhanger to the first story. I'm going to probably be low on this for what you guys think, but I'm
going 7.5.
I'm giving it a
really
5. Yeah,
I'm while we're talking, I am looking at the variant covers that are after, and I think that I want to get the Scotty Young variant cover with the cartoony looking little X-Men.
Yeah, I do always tend to lean towards Scotty Young.
I love that cover, and the Joe Quesada cover is awesome too. It looks so good. But there you go. Then my variant cover talk for the week. But yeah, I'm giving it a 7. What would you give it, Aaron?
I'm at a 7 too. I'm totally on board with you today.
Yeah. We're very much right down the line. Yeah. So now we have our book of the week, and mine is Cosmic Ghost Rider. That is easily my book of the week, and I love that series. And I just, it's so good. Did you end up reading that at all?
I was halfway through it when you called.
So good.
It was already my book of the week, and I'm only halfway through.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it doesn't disappoint by the end either. I loved it so much. Same with you, Brandon.
Like this beginning
Cosmic Ghost Rider.
Yeah, I did too. I liked Venom a lot too, but Cosmic Ghost Rider is definitely my book of the week. But that is it for the podcast. Next week, we're going to have a couple more books that were out this week. We'll see if they're quick books or if we go full out, because I think we only have 4 books that we would cover next week. So we'll grab a couple others. We're going to have quick books next week as well. It's just there were so many books, and 2 of them were oversized. That Avengers was oversized as well.
A lot of words.
Yeah, a lot of words. I'm telling you, sometimes it's like, you can get through 6 issues or so and just kind of get that. It took me like 2.5 hours to read all of it.
I read from when I got home to work till I told you
that's what happened to me. Yeah, sometimes I can kind of, relax and maybe eat dinner and make my kids dinner.
I just ate pizza on the couch. That's all I did.
Yeah, I have this stupid diet. My kids had pizza, and I'm just looking at it. I'm like, I'm not allowed to eat that.
I ate a whole box of macaroni and cheese.
Oh, how dare you! I'm gonna go now to eat. We had our Thanksgiving meal thing at work today, and there was nothing. The stupid idiots say to me. This one lady comes up. Hey, what you have your diet, so we have a bunch of things you can have. And I'm like, really? Like, all I can really eat is, kind of meat and stuff by itself. She's like, I know. That's why we got you the potato salad. Like, potato salad?
Full of mayonnaise and
here's the worst. Veggies. So I say to them, and they were being nice. They came out and said, so what can you eat that we're going to have? And I said, well, there's turkey, I guess, right?
You're gonna have lick turkey. The salt off of it for me.
I could definitely have turkey. That is full out, because I can't even eat ham because it's got too much stuff in it and stuff. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I can have turkey. So they're like, okay. So Eric doesn't eat anything because he doesn't want to socialize with them. It's not that he waits till they're all done and then he runs in and eats stuff on the sly, which I did end up having some sleeve apple pie for him. He didn't want it, but I ended up doing it. And it fell on the floor anyway. But so I go in, they're like, oh, here it is. So they go, here it is. Here's your the turkey that we have. I'm like, I hate to be mean, but you put tons of gravy on it. I can't have gravy. What happened? And they're like, oh no. They ended up getting the turkey, cutting it. Every piece of turkey had gravy on it. They just put gravy. They put it in this big dish. I'm like, I'm out. But I ended up saying, like, thanks a lot. Oh, this is great. I went out. Hey, Eric, you want this? He's like, I'm not eating that. And I throw it away. So and only because Eric
upside down plate in the garbage.
It was because Eric was giving me shade then. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I might just eat it. They were very nice. She was like, that's what I told you. I knew that you weren't going to stick with this. You jerk. And I threw it away. I was so mad at them. But that's it. That's the talk of food for the week. And then they had tons of cookies. Eric just went to town. I've never seen a guy eat as many cookies as he did today. He really was going.
Let's start on the Christmas cookie weight. Huh?
Yeah. Oh, he was going with it. So, yeah. But that's it. That's the end of the podcast. And I hope everybody enjoyed it. And we will talk to you again next week.
Later.
All right.